Hey, good day to everyone. My name is Steve. I am the Senior Support Representative for SoftPlan. Welcome back to our Friday Fundamental series of webinars. We are very pleased to announce a successful launch to our newest major release, SoftPlan version 2024. And today I'm going to be going over some of the new features we've packed into this release, highlighting some of what we consider to be major additions and improvements that were included into the already extensive toolbox of commands found within the program. This is actually going to be the first of two Friday Fundamental webinars that we're going to be hosting. There'll be a What's New in version 2024 Part 2 that will be held in a couple of weeks that will be pointing out a different set of major additions made to the program. I'll be going over about 10 or 11 different features today, starting with overlay. One of the major and likely one of the most significant improvements made to version 2024 is the overlay command. The overlay command allows it or makes it easy to show the layouts of other floors relative to the current drawing you're working on. In past versions, the items that were made visible for the overlay and how they were presented were more or less dictated by the program. A tremendous improvement with the overlay is now that you can specify what items are to be visible and control their appearance. And we've added a few extra features to that overlay command as well. To start demonstrating this feature, I got an example drawing here, or example project. It's a two-story home with the full basement. I have the second floor active. The overlay is still under its original location, file overlay. Although you may find it easier to include an icon in your toolbar, I'm going to customize my toolbar because I find it useful. So from the file management category there on the left, overlay drawing, there's the tool. I'll drag and drop it into the toolbar, close and save my changes. Now I got it in the toolbar. It's much more efficient to select it from there. And so once it's enabled, it becomes a docked dialog towards the bottom of the screen, similar to that of the layer controls and building options. Take note that the drawings that are assembled in my model, those are the same drawings that are going to be available, or by default that are available, to be selected as an overlay. If I needed to add a drawing that's not currently in the model assembly, I can hit the plus sign. This will simply ask me which drawing to overlay. I'll pick this roof drawing that we have here, and it will, by default, enable that overlay. Now we can see the roof outline that we have there. And if you wanted to remove it, right-click and remove. You can also drag and drop drawings in and out of the model, and as you do so, those drawings will appear or disappear from the available drawings in the overlay as well, the automatic ones. For this example, I'm going to overlay the main floor plan. But it should also be noted that one of the benefits of the new overlay features is that I can actually overlay multiple drawings at once. I can overlay the foundation and the main floor at once. So if I needed to see a structural component from the basement all the way up to the attic, I can overlay as many drawings as necessary and see them all stacked on top of each other. I'll keep it simple. We'll just have the main floor. In the list of items that can be used as an overlay, as I scroll through them, you'll see some of them have a triangle symbol next to them. Those allow us to collapse those groups. So if we're looking to get a more concise view of all the options that we can enable or disable for the overlay, we can collapse those groups. A quick way to collapse them all is to right-click anywhere in that chart and hit collapse all, and this will collapse all groups. You can quickly find the category you're looking for. In this case, let's take a look at walls. I'll expand walls by clicking on its corresponding little triangle symbol there. And first and foremost, you can then see that within that list of options, we can include, for example, a fade. So by default, all items that are enabled for being visible in the overlay have a fade option. If you don't want the fade, we can turn that off. Here I'm turning it off just for walls. Everything else remains faded. So the walls themselves become a little more bold. Um, Color options, self-explanatory, I hope, but we can then certainly change the color of which, in this case, walls are being displayed in. If we prefer to have walls display in their default defined color, we can simply check use items color, and this will put the walls in their default brown color there. Similarly, with the line style, we can certainly choose a different line style to, in this case, display the walls with, or have the walls display in their default line style, a continuous line. Every item that's set to be visible obviously will be included in a print, or at least has the option to be included in a print. And if you don't want those items, so if you didn't want any walls to be appearing in the print, there's the no print option. Otherwise, you do have the option of specifying a specific pen of which to print those off. Otherwise, it would refer to a default pen found under your drawing option, project and drawing options. Take a look at symbols next. Since symbols are not part of the default overlay, if I wanted to take a look at where the main floor symbols are, I can certainly turn on their visibility. And if we take a look at here in the bathroom area, I'll turn off the fade. It's a little bit more bold here. But we can now see the symbols that are participating in the main floor plan. So if we're designing a plumbing wall, we can then show how each plumbing fixture is aligned from one drawing to the other. Should also note that at the top of this list, we have items that are potentially on a layer. This project has a bunch of furniture items that are symbols, but they've been defined to be placed on a layer. And so those symbols are separated by their layer control called furniture. So if I wanted to see the furniture layout from the main floor plan, I can turn that on and we can start to see some furniture layout from the main floor plan. Again, those are controlled by their layers. These different settings, their visibility, the fade, color, line style, etc., those all have defaults, and if we wanted to restore those defaults, if we right click on the drawing name, in this case main floor plan, first we can reset the layer visibilities. So if we do so, in this case it's going to turn off the symbols. Again, symbols did not have their visibility on by default, so resetting it back to default would in this case remove my symbols. A right click on main floor plan has the option to reset the default layer options as well. In this case, it's going to remove or I guess restore the fade, return the colors all back to black, and the default line style. So we can reset those back to the defaults. Now, good option here is to actually set those defaults. So if you want to specify how your overlays are going to look off the get-go, come up to File and System Options again, locate the category of Default Overlay Visibilities. You'll see that each individual drawing mode has its own controls for the overlay visibilities. We'll take a look here just at the drawing, and if you needed to specify the defaults, you do so here. For example, if you want to remove the fade on all items, quick way to get rid of or to turn on and off items all at once is to click into the heading. In this case, I click on the heading for fade. That entire column highlights. I can then turn off the fade for all items, hit OK, save my changes. So that sets my defaults at the system level, and that would then be forced into new projects moving forward. For my current project, I can come to File, Project Options, same location, Default Overlay Visibilities, Drawing. There's a Reset to System. So this would then get rid of my fade that I've applied at the system. Hit OK. And if your drawing is relying on custom drawing options, which this drawing is, I can come into drawing options, default overlay visibilities drawing, and there'll be an option to reset to project. Again, getting rid of the fade. Take note here at the drawing level, there's also a button to save to system. So if you take the time to set up your overlay visibilities and settings here at the system level, or sorry, at the drawing level, you can force that or those changes up to the system. I'll hit OK. So I've gotten rid of the fade. Now you'll notice here that the fade is still applied to the overlay that I have here. In order for that to be now applied to the actual drawing in use, right click on the main floor plan in the overlay controls, reset default layer options. This will then remove the fade that was applied. So the fade is now off for all items. One of the benefits that we've added to the overlay is something called overlay viewports. So you can dictate only a portion of the drawing to be used as the overlay. To establish a overlay viewport, file, overlay, and create overlay viewport. This is a polygon trace method. We just basically trace a rectangular or any shape really. So I'm in this case going to trace a rectangle, but it could be any shape. And that establishes a viewport for the overlay. It's indicated by this dotted red line. If I need to expand or change that shape, I can certainly go to the adjust tool and stretch or collapse the extent of the viewport. But it's only going to show me the overlay items within that viewport. If I want to temporarily, for example, take a look at the entire overlay drawing, again, in the right click of the drawing name in the overlay controls is a disable viewport clipping. This will allow the entire overlay to be shown, even if it has a viewport established. And to its re-enable the viewport clipping, right click. And if it's disabled, you get the option to enable it. And if you didn't need it all together, you can certainly go to the erase tool, click on the dotted red box, and get rid of the viewport altogether. The viewport lines are printable, but there's a global control depending on how you're setting it up as to if you want the overlay lines to print or not. For example, if I come to File and I'll go to my print dialog, there's going to be an include overlays option here on the print. There's also one on the batch print. Similarly, if you are creating a PDF directly from a drawing, review, portable document format, export PDF, there's also a include overlays in the PDF option as well. Similarly in the batch PDF. So you can turn off the overlays globally for direct prints. If you are dealing with plan sets, it's a little different, but there's a little bit more control there. If we, for example, open up my main, or sorry, I guess second floor plan that has the overlay, we immediately see the dotted lines for the overlay of the main floor plan under the second. If I edit that drawing that's in my plan set, there's the option to include overlays or not. So I can simply turn that off here, although the overlay is still on in my second floor plan. So I can refer to it for whatever needs I may have. In my plan set document, that overlay is simply hidden altogether. That obviously is an override to any of the print settings within the overlay itself. So in the ability to have those print settings in the overlay, again, that would be the print column and the pen column. Those will only be applied if the overlay is set to be visible in your final print. All right, so that's the overlay. A tremendous improvement as to what it has been in the past. The next major improvement or addition to the program I want to go over, and I'm going to disable the overlay to make it clear, is that of what we call stair viewports. Here in my second floor plan, there, as you can clearly see, there are no stairs drawn anywhere, whereas in the main floor plan, voila, there is indeed a set of stairs going up to the second. Traditionally in SoftPlan, in order for the same set of stairs to be represented in two drawings, you would really need to draw two sets of stairs, one in the main, one in the second floor, and then in the second floor, there would be an option to hide the stair from a 3D point of view and from your material list, such that it's only there for plan representation. What we've added here in 2024 is if I right click on the stair that's drawn, there's the option to show on floor above and show on floor below. This case, because it's a second floor, I wanted to hit show on floor above. Here it's going to open up my second floor plan and show me the exact same location where the stairs are on the main floor projected up into the second. Great benefit of this new feature that if I come back to the main floor plan and I needed to modify the stairs themselves, I can still edit the stairs in the main floor plan. Let's say I wanted to add a volute to the right side. Hit OK. That change is automatically going to be projected into the second floor as well, or whatever drawing you've projected those stairs into. So a change on the main floor plan is going to continually update the look of the stairs that are projected into the other drawing. Similarly, I can still edit the stairs in the second floor plan. Note that the title of this stair, or the object here, is stair on floor below. So this tells us that this stair actually is drawn in the floor below, but I can still modify properties here that are going to affect the stair as a whole. Let's say I needed 15 risers. I gain an extra riser here in the second floor plan as expected, but if I bring up the main floor plan, it's automatically updating it. So the stairs are going to remain in sync with that tool. Not only are the properties going to be in sync, but the position of the stair. Let's say I need to move the stair. I'll add a dimension. Let's edit that dimension to be 4.6. To the right to move the stairs. Stairs are now in a better location. But back in the second floor plan, those are also in sync. They're the movement of the stairs, the properties of the stairs, those are now always going to be in sync. It's a great benefit from what we had in past versions. However, the look of the stair or their display can be unique from one drawing over the other. So in this case, stairs are kind of falling under this walk-in closet here in the second floor. I can edit the stair in the second floor plan, the stair on floor below, and in the display tab, anything I do here is only going to be applied to this stair on the second floor plan. For example, add a break, and let's set that break at a custom height. I think it's about 2 feet. Hit OK. If I come to my main floor plan, it does not affect the look of the stairs in the main floor plan. And the same holds true if I edit the stairs in the main floor plan. There are certain properties under the stair options tab, mainly their display, that are not going to affect the projected stair on the second floor plan. So I can add its own break, hit OK, and in the second floor plan, the break of the second floor stairs still remains as it is. Yet properties are going to still be common between the two. If I were to, again, add an extra tread, remove the volute, all those are going to still continually update between the two. Only their display properties are unique for the stair that it's applied to. One final thing here, the stair, if I edit the stair on the floor below, and in the display tab is a clip option. This is a kind of equivalent to the overlay viewports. This shows us a dotted red line of which can be adjusted to indicate what part of the stair you want to make visible if you needed it to be different. And a more complicated, like an L-shaped stair, you only want to show part of it. You can do so by clipping the stair with that, in essence, a viewport of the stair itself. hit cancel to keep that on. So those are the stair viewports. They kind of tie or borrow their information or how they work from the new overlay features. But again, it's a great way to keep a single set of stairs continuous between floor plans. And again, in your material list, you'll only get one set of stairs. A cross section of this drawing, again, is only going to show you one stair. So the projected stair above or below is not going to add any information to your sections, your 3Ds, or your material lists. The next addition that I want to demonstrate here is structural grids. So we've added the ability to include structural grid lines in your design. So again, you can maintain a consistent grid pattern from one floor plan to the other. The structural grids find their home in the framing mode. So I'm going to switch my main floor plan to framing mode. From framing mode, draw structural grid. I'm going to turn on my cursor snap, so I just want to snap to the current bearing areas. And structural grid lines, drawn here up and down, structural grid lines that are drawn vertically are going to be organized alphanumerically. So I got A, B, this one was obviously going to be C. I can, once they're drawn, these can actually be copied if I prefer. So if I can copy the C over this way, hit OK, it's automatically going to increment the copy. In this case, C becomes D in the copy. Whereas structural grid lines drawn left to right, these are going to be ordered numerically. And if I forgot to add one between, let's say I want to include one along the garage here, it's just going to reorganize them. So the program will keep track of the order of which those grid lines are in and number them accordingly. And if one actually gets erased because you discovered that you didn't need it, it's simply going to reorder them again. So either adding in between the two or eliminating ones between two, those grid lines are going to automatically be numbered. The structural grid line should be made visible in all modes by default, but if you want to control their visibilities, those are found under options and visible items. You can certainly disable or enable structural grid lines. We'll keep them visible. But like section lines, structural grid lines are going to be common for every drawing that's assembled in your model. So again, if I bring up my second floor plan, those grid lines are going to automatically be there. Again, they're common for all drawings that are in the model stack. Depending on your needs, perhaps you don't need to display a particular grid line in one of the floors. Here in the second floor plan, grid line A and D perhaps don't really need to be shown. I can edit a grid line and make it hidden. This will not reorder the values, so B remains B, even though A is gone. It's simply made hidden. I can do the same with line D there. Hit OK. That visibility control, though, is only applied to the drawing you did it in. Back in the main floor plan, A and D still exist. They're still visible. They're only being hidden in the second floor plan. If you want to make those visible again, it's another visible options dialog. So options, visible items, they're now called structural grid lines hidden. So I can turn that on, see the hidden structural grid lines. They come in a different color, gray in this case. But if I wanted to, I can now edit them and unhide them. Also within the edit, there's the option to display their labels, little bubbles, top and bottom in this case. I can turn one off or the other, but take note, you can't turn them both off. One needs to be visible or both. those grid lines also project themselves in elevation and section views. So if I were to generate a front elevation view here, while in annotated mode, the structural grid lines will appear based off of whatever perspective you have drawn. I'll get ones, 1, 2, and 3 if I generate a left and right elevation where letters would become front and back. Those grid lines have one more feature, and that is in a 3D point of view. In 3D views, the structural grid lines are going to be projected as these faded planes. So if you needed to further help align structural elements in your 3D point of view, you can see across my building, I got several of these faded planes to help me align those grid lines. If you feel that they're too faded, you can certainly do a surface edit on them. To structural grid, under the options, they're faded because, sorry, it's under the lighting tab. They're faded because they have an opacity set. I can increase or decrease that opacity to make them more obvious. If I did not want the grid lines to appear in my 3D point of view, we just come to the options dialog, material, under the structure category in the navigation tree, and down below, locate structural grid, just turn off their display. Hit OK. They're not participating in my 3D point of view, but they'll still be available and visible in my plan representations. So that's structural grid lines. Next feature I want to demonstrate, it's fairly straightforward and simple feature, but can have tremendous benefit. And this is simply hiding floors in 3D. It's 3D visible floor options. This being a 3D tool, I'm in my 3D view. I'm going to come to the options menu and visible floors. And it's just a checkbox. Any floors that are currently participating in the model stack over here on the left are going to be represented here in the visible floors dialog. And if I needed to, for example, see how the foundation plan sits within my site, I can turn off the visibility of the main floor and second floor, hit OK. And what will happen here is the 3D model will regenerate an update just showing me the foundation plan itself and how it sits within the site, hiding the other two. That visible floors dialog only applies to the 3D view I made the change to. I have two 3D views here, an exterior and interior. Back in my interior view, the changes I made to the exterior view are not affecting the 3D view of my inside. So the visible floors is unique for each separate 3D view you've generated. If I want to specify a different set of visible floor options here in my, back up a bit, in my second 3D view, visible floors, let's say I just want to see what the second floor looked like, hit OK. In this case, I'm just going to get my second floor plan in a 3D view. One of the benefits of allowing this to occur is sometimes you have problems within your model. You're not sure which drawing is attributing to that problem. Great way to help diagnose that problem is to hide the floors one at a time to see when that problem goes away. As soon as you turn off the floor which the problem resides in, it goes away. You can now help you pinpoint and find out where that issue is. For example, you have your drawings assembled. Everything you assume is properly set for their heights and offset, yet there still seems to be a gap in your floor system or a gap between drawings. If you turn off the visibilities of other drawings, you'll eventually see more clearly that perhaps one drawing has a wall that's still too tall. You forgot to grab that wall and make it the right height. You can now find that problem a little bit easier with that tool and correct the mistake. So that's the visible floors. It can be useful just to see one drawing in 3D rather than the whole assembled model, but it should be noted that that's a 3D view property only. It only affects the view of which you're placing it in. But back in my front elevation view, it's not going to touch my elevations or my sections, or more specifically, my material list. It's still going to use the drawings that are assembled in your model to create your elevations, sections, and your material report. Okay. Further to that, actually, the ability to hide floors in my model view of an elevation, it's disabled. So you don't have the option of hiding floors in an elevation or a section, or for that matter, your material list. Those are always going to be relying on your assembled floors. The ability to hide those floors, one other benefit for that is as well, is if you save a view file, file, view file, save, call it basement only. That view file then can be added to a plan set page, and you can create various view files. I can create another one here of my second floor, which just shows my second floor floating in the air. But each of those view files will maintain the visible floors options that has been set for that view. Just going to borrow the site plan drawing here and drag and drop that view just to demonstrate that it does indeed do just that. The basement only, I can drag and drop it. And it's just going to show me that option of which has those floors visible. And again, I can create other views with other floors visible, invisible, and have them as separate viewports within a plan set page. So that's the visible floors option dialog. It's a simple thing, but can have great benefits and uses. The next thing, and let me close that one first. The next feature I want to demonstrate is here actually in the second floor plan, and it's obviously more visible without the main floor in the way. And then this is something called remove intersecting wall material. One of the issues that we have, and this mainly deals with the soft list side, is that in certain roof conditions, and in this case, if we take a look at how this gable roof hits the second floor, it's an intersecting roof edge, but there was never an easy way to remove the, in this case, the siding material that was hidden within the roof. Well, we've now added a very efficient and easy tool that allows you to hide that information. Back in the second floor plan, I'll switch to roof mode. I'll edit the intersecting roof edge and click on remove intersecting material. Very simple, straightforward command. Hit OK. Back in my 3D view, nope, I think I got the wrong roof there. It's this one that I got rid of. And yep, sure enough, I'm now looking at drywall. So the siding material has been removed. That actually does tie into soft list. Let's take a look at how it's reporting then. If I do a quick here search on siding, it's right now 1103. If I come back to my second floor plan, let's edit the opposite intersecting roof edge. That's this guy here, and do the same, remove intersecting material, hit OK. Back in 3D, we can verify that the siding, sure enough, is gone on the other side, and it is. We now see the drywall there from the interior. But in my material list, which is the main benefit of it, is now giving a more accurate report of how much siding is required. It should be pointed out that this does not remove the sheathing, as someone has just suggested in the chat there dialogue. The sheathing, as far as soft list is concerned, or more specifically, the wall sheathing, is not removing any quantities. So the soft list side of things allows the remove intersecting material to be removed from the quantities of soft list or not. And in this case, the wall sheathing does not, but the siding or brick or stucco or board and batten will be removed. And again, that's all dealing with soft. Let's just to prove that point. Let's come back to the second floor plan we saw. Well, just a second here. We had 105 sheets. I'll turn the remove intersecting material off on both edges. I'm not going to gain any sheathing. It should still be at 105 sheets. And it is, whereas siding now has a greater quantity. Okay, so that's removing intersecting material, ideally there for softless to get those conditions where the roof is covering part of a wall. Remove intersecting material will do so. You do see it eliminated from a 3D point of view, but oftentimes that is being hidden by the roof itself and the other floor plans, but you will see the material being removed from your soft list. Moving along here, the next feature I want to touch upon is Google Maps. In this project, let me open up the site plan. Under options and visible items, I can turn on the geolocation point. This should bring up into the middle of the drawing. There's the geolocation point showing the longitude and latitude specifically of that point. If this was a real site, project options, we got an address here of 8118 Isabel Lane, Brentwood, Tennessee. Let's bring up Google Maps. We'll punch that in. And there's the site. Let's throw on the satellite view of it. So this is the site that we want to represent. In order to specify the exact longitude and latitude of that site, I'm going to click on a point within Google Maps, and it will give me an indication of the longitude and latitude. That number, if I come back to SoftPlan and I enter it under project options and location, I can enter the decimal here. So it's 35.961863. And the longitude is minus 86.803417. Those are the values that we had from Google Maps. I'll hit OK. That will update the longitude and latitude shown on the geolocation point. I'm then going to go to Move, grab that point, turn off my snap, and snap that into the location of where that point is ideally represented. With that set, I can now right-click anywhere in my site plan, and there'll be an option to show the Google Maps satellite image. This will then bring up the image, indicating that same point, exactly where I've laid it out. Now, the direction of north should also then be specified more accurately. In this case, the direction of north, I believe, is 93 degrees. So we have to tilt it 93 degrees, hit OK. It'll ask me to rotate, or the rotate options. In this case, I don't want to rotate anything. I just want it to rotate the imported site image. It's now rotated for a more accurate representation of how the site is laid out. I can now trace over the site, fill in all the information that gives me or that is given to me by the Google Map imported image. That image is actually placed on a layer. So if I bring up my layer controls, the layer controls called satellite image, you'll find it at the end. It does import with a fade option and turned on. I can turn it off so it's not so faded, but you can see how that corresponds to the point I selected in the actual Google Maps. If I bring that back up again, It's pretty close as to where it was indicating my start point from Google Maps. Moving along, the next thing I want to demonstrate, I've got a different project here to show the next few features. This one is dealing with a new roof tool called Slope Entire Roof. So what this tool will do is that once we have a roof plan established, and so here's my simple design. It's a single story home. Let's come to the main floor plan. I'll switch to roof mode. I'm going to first come to roof options. I'm going to give it a 3-inch pitch, raise the roof about what 5 inches for the heel height. Hit OK. I'll do an auto roof. This will apply a single hip roof over the entire structure. Sure enough, in 3D, get this low profile roof shown. If I come back to the main floor plan, while in roof mode, if I access the edit menu, one of the tools that we've added now in 2024 is slope entire roof. I'll select it, and if I click, for example, on the frontmost edge of this roof, all other roof edges become gables, and the only sloping roof or the only hip roof edge is the edge I clicked on. And if I come back to 3D, we get a single pitched roof over the entire structure. What should be noted here is that the wall of which the source roof edge was referencing, this wall at the front, it's going to maintain whatever wall height it had, but all other walls are going to be fitted to the roof based off of the pitch and shape of the roof that's above it. That wall here is a straight 9 foot 10 and change. Obviously, the walls along the sides of the building are going to be raked to follow the slope of the roof. So that's slope entire roof. I'll come back to the main floor plan. I'm going to hit undo a couple of times because I'm going to add a little bit of flair to this drawing. If I then trace the roof separately, I'm going to have a roof section here on the right and a different roof section here on the left. I'm going to come back to the edit menu, slope entire roof. I'll click on the edge on the left and then the rightmost edge. Back in 3D, we're given this look. Now, again, the ability for the roof to slope also establishes the walls under that roof to fit to the roof. The issue here is that because I sloped the roof on the right last, the wall at the back fitted to that roof. Thus, the roof or the portion of that wall under the first roof got altered. Not a big deal. We simply edit that wall, come to the top of wall tab, fit it to the roof, and we got it now corrected. Again, top of wall, fit to roof. Yes, that does leave a little gap here that obviously can be controlled or covered with a different wall. It's not part of the new design or the new feature of the sloped entire roof, but I can quickly show you how to cover that. I've already got a wall in place there, I believe. To note, this wall has been hidden, so it's not going to participate in any prints, but I do need to set its offset to hit the lowest point, or I guess the highest point of the lower roof. I think it's about 14.4. Keep in mind, if you're going to edit the offset of a wall, you should come to the Common tab and remove its cleanup property. Otherwise, it's going to alter its offset again on its own. I've already got it disabled back in 3D. There's that wall. All I need to do then is edit the wall, top of wall tab, fit it to the roof. I can then apply maybe clear story windows in there. But the idea behind the whole tool, slope entire roof, is fairly straightforward and simple. Once you got a roof, regardless of its shape, you click on the low end of the roof and the entire roof will start to slope from that point, and the walls under each other corresponding roof edge are going to fit to the roof. Okay. Moving along. So the next thing I want to cover is opening transom improvements. We've always had the ability to add a transom to an opening, but there was a difficulty, if you will, of changing the properties of the transom. Sorry, there's a brief question here. Can it be done without raising the wall heights? Unfortunately, no. If you don't want the wall heights to be altered, you would have to go back and manually reset the wall heights to suit. But yes, by default, when you use the slope entire roof tool, it will change the wall heights again. Okay. So with the transoms here, so previously the transom that got added, it became a single product code. For example, if I edit this window here, the add transom button still is in the same spot. Actually, before I get into the product code issue, one of the other options we've added to the transom is the ability to add a space between the transom and the window. I'll say, for example, a 6-inch spacing. This will add a mullion between the two. So that was something that was not there before. That's could be a great benefit. I'll edit this second window and kind of do the same, add transom, but without the spacing, so it gets added directly above. But notice I'm not going to select the create product code. I'll leave that off. What this does, it adds the transom as a separate window. In other words, although it's not gaining the grill work initially, I can edit the transom as a separate window and as necessary, come to the grill, change its arrangement. This was a common thing. They needed to get rid of one of the grill lines in that thin transom. Can now do so quite easily. It's a separate window that gets added. However, if you like the idea of it being a single product code, that option still exists. Add transom, just enable the create product code. The difference here is that as a single opening, the height of the opening as a whole is going to be maintained. So basically, the lower window seems to move down, whereas in the previously two examples, the transom got added directly above the lower window. That's because the first two examples, without it being a product code, those were separate openings, and the transom became a different opening. Yes, you can erase the transom without, because again, they're separate openings. So erase, bang, it's gone. Whereas if I were to erase this guy, it's going to erase them both because they're one unit. There's another question here. Can we make the transom a 2-unit? Well, let me carry on with my example here. So next door, the next wall over, we have 2 sets of windows. Each set of window has 2 units. So another addition to the add transom tool is to recognize when you're adding a transom to a unit opening. If there is a unit opening, it's going to assume you wanted to have a transom over that entire unit. Hit OK, and sure enough, that's what applies. However, if you wanted separate transoms over each unit, I'll do it here. We just hit add transom, remove the add over opening unit, hit OK, and we just get a transom over each individual unit. I'll repeat the same for the opening next door. Do not add over opening unit. And we get individual transoms, basically 2 transoms above the 2 windows below. And again, because those weren't added as a product code, those can be individually edited, even for a different height. We'll move the window down. You may need to arrange your offsets, but each window now, the transom versus the original window, are independent still and can be edited for properties that are unique to it. The common one being there was the grill and how the grills were arranged. Okay. So that's the additions and improvements we made to the transom command. Whew. Okay, we got a few more minutes. About 3 more things I want to cover. 2 of them are going to tie into a new dimension tools. I'm going to create a new drawing. Go to draw. I'll pick up a 2x6 siding. Sorry, there was a brief question there. Can you separate the mullion or remove the mullion? Edit the window, either one. Go to the header tab and turn on the exclude from unit openings. Sorry, yeah, I maybe have overlooked that. That is a good point. So when we add a spacing between or add any transom without making it a product code does indeed make those as two openings, but they're united together, or what I would call site built unit as opposed to shop built unit. A shop built unit would be a single product code, whereas a site built unit would be two windows that arrive to site separated, and the framers just stack them on top of each other or beside each other. And if you don't want those to interact with each other, edit it, come to the header tab and enable exclude from unit openings. That would get rid of your mullion between. Okay, back to my next example. I'm going to draw a fairly straightforward floor plan. Oh, one of the things I want to do is turn on my auto dimension. I want to have my auto dimension on because this kind of ties into one of the improvements we made to a dimension tool. And I first want to throw on the auto dimension. So it's going to automatically add dimensions as I lay out this simple floor plan here. This point I'm going to hit F12 because I want to go on a 45-degree angle. So I got a 45-degree angle here. Probably an angled garage as is common. And one of the things here is that one of the angled walls, depending on the shape and conditions of the floor plan, auto dimension may not be able to rectify where dimensions need to go, especially if we're starting to deal with various angles of the building. I'm also going to add a couple of openings. Let's just get a casement window. Doesn't really matter which one. And you can see that there's a layering of dimensions that occur. Again, no dimensions are going to fall on this angled wall towards the back. The placement of those auto dimensions are going to be found under File, in this case, Project Options, Dimension Extension Options, Dimension Options, and the placement between levels of dimension lines is controlled by the dimension spacing. I'm going to set that to 2 feet. And the placement of the first dimension off the face of the wall, that's controlled by the inner string placement. I'll set that to 6 feet and hit OK. From the dimension menu, I'll click Auto Dimension since I've already got my dimensions and floor plans in place. Sorry, there's a question there. Does it deal with the interior wall placement as well? No, I have yet to really touch upon my new feature that I want to describe. I'm just kind of leading up to it. I'm basically going over things that the program already has in place. Auto dimension's always been there. No, we've never been able to auto dimension the interiors. There is an interior extension that we can gain, so we get interior locations of partitions on the outside, but these are not the features I want to go over. I really want to stress the new features of what we've added here. So I'm just kind of leading up into that right now. So I'm just going to do an auto dimension. It's going to reset those locations for me. Again, the 2-foot spacing between dimensions and the 6-foot spacing for the first dimension string. Now, if I need to add dimensions manually to this back wall, I can do so. I'm going to, in this case, use the group extension. Click on the wall and drag my cursor up to gain those extensions. Here's where the new feature comes into place. If I now come to the dimension menu and turn on my cursor snap, Along the edges of the extension line are going to be the snap points that tie into the dimension spacings I've shown you moments ago. Those always have been there, but the ability to gain your manual dimensions at a spacing equal to the auto place dimensions is now available through the snap command. So I can snap on that dimension. That's going to be dead set at 6 foot from the face. This one is going to be 2 foot spacing from the previous one. So that's the benefit of the snap and dimensions. They now tie into the automatic spacing of your auto dimensions. The next dimension tool that has some great benefits is something called the orthographic extension. On my angled wall, sometimes it's necessary to indicate the location or point of that wall. We never used to be able to have an extension that would tie to that point. We now do, called this orthographic extension. You click on the point, it's only going to go up and down, left or right. We cannot add an orthographic extension on an angle that destroys the purpose of it. So it only goes perpendicular to the screen, and I can now get a dimension line. Again, you're seeing all those snap points that indicate spacing. If I need to add another one, I can guarantee that that spacing is dead even from the previous. But the orthographic extension allows us now to grab an extension off a corner of the building that's not square to the rest of the structure. Perfect. Okay. So one more thing I do want to go over, again, small, but does have great benefits. Again, dealing with soft list. I'm going to come into my main floor plan, and this deals with how cabinets are priced. If I add a simple cabinet to this drawing, cabinet, let's go with the base cabinet. I'll make it 12 inches. And to keep this fairly straightforward, it's just going to be a single door. So basically what we got here is we got a door on this cabinet. The door itself is 12 inches wide by 30 inches tall. Hit OK, and I'll draw it somewhere. The way that is priced by default, if I come up to my material list and search for cabinets, there they are. The cabinet is based or priced as a unit, meaning it's pricing for the box of the cabinet and the face of the cabinet. Under the options dialog, again, this is not new, it's leading up to what we've added, but we've always had the ability to separate the box from the face. List library items by part under the cabinet options. And I now have a cabinet box and a cabinet face. Now the benefit here is the ability to cost that cabinet. Sorry, this may take some time to open, but I'm going to right click, edit material. The current method of pricing cabinet faces is through each individual size of the face, door and drawer. In other words, in order to price out this door, we have to have a pricing table, which I've now just opened, that indicates each individual size that's potentially occurs for my cabinet layout. In this case, it was a 12 by 30, it's 4250. That plus the size of the box cost gave me the total cost of the entire cabinet as a whole that we shown you earlier. The benefit that we've added now in version 2024 is under options and pricing the cabinet face by the area. If I hit OK, I don't believe the change will be affected that much, but what happens now, if I edit this material, it comes up much quicker. And then rather than list each individual door size and drawer size, which can become quite an extensive undertaking, we just now need to put in the price per square foot. And the price will then be reflected accordingly in your material list. It's a much more easily managed pricing for your cabinet faces. Okay, you just simply pick the style of cabinet, the face parts. We have doors with glass, glass with grills. Also, the finishing can be set up here, but it's a price per square foot, much more efficient than putting up a price per piece. Okay. Ultimately, the same values can be set under your system options. I mean, I went with the right click to give us a quick shortcut to it, but under soft list configuration, there's your cabinet faces by part, which was always there. It's a very large and extensive pricing table, whereas cabinet faces by area is a much more manageable way of pricing your cabinets. All right, so that's all the time we have for today. I know there's probably a lot of information that was covered off, um, but this demonstration of some of our new features has been recorded, and I will get it posted to our social media pages at some point in the future, so you can review that, or you can review today's content at a later time. As previously noted, though, there's going to be another Friday Fundamental that will go over a different set of features. But just so you know, if you're looking to get a listing of all our features on our website under upgrades, SoftPlan 2024 upgrades, what the Friday fundamentals we're trying to cover off are going to be basically some of the major features. But if you click on this details button, you'll get a category list of all the various improvements we've made. You can certainly click on any specific category there, and it's going to give you a rundown of the features of that category. There's literally hundreds and hundreds of little additions we've made to the program. So you can check that out if you needed a full list of all the improvements we've made within this new version. So again, thanks for joining me today. I do hope you find some of these new tools I've discussed today to be beneficial to you, that you can use them in your daily drafting routine. Again, thanks for joining me today, and have a great weekend, everyone. Thank you.